Hi students, welcome to the first writer's workshop. I'm really excited about this writer's workshop. I wish we could do it in person because I really enjoy these, but I'm hoping this is the next best thing. So this is our writer's workshop for our narrative essay, which is our first essay of the semester in your topic. If you want to look over the prompt, I'm just going to kind of review the topic first and then go into how to structure the essay. We're going to go paragraph by paragraph, how to organize each paragraph using examples. And so I'm hoping, my intention is that after you finish this writer's workshop, that you will be much more comfortable writing the paper, that you'll be able to use this as an example and then use it as sort of a expanded outline of sorts, an example of what you can do, and then work with, of course, your own particular topic of when someone gave you really good advice. So, and that is our prompt, is about good advice. When did someone give you some really good advice? What was that advice? Who gave it to you? This is what you're going to talk about in this first paper. So again, if you look over the topic in the prompt, it says in this essay, you are going to discuss a time that someone gave you some important advice, right? So you've got to narrow down who the person was, what the advice was, and why it was so important to you, right? And it can be something that was really encouraging, or it might even be something that was discouraging. Sometimes that can motivate us as well. Negativity sometimes, depending, right? But whatever it was, you want to just pick one piece of advice that was given to you at one occasion and then explain why this advice was so important. So you don't want to give a series of different words of wisdom, so to speak, from various people. You need one, and you will center your whole paper on that experience. So it's really important to just use one piece of advice. So kind of start thinking, who gave me the advice? Why was it important to me? Is this someone that gave you advice before and you often go to them for advice? Is this someone that's never given you advice before? Is this even a random person that somehow they had this little kernel of knowledge, right? Could even be a celebrity or something like that, right? All right, so you've got to narrow that down of who gave you the advice, what was the advice, why did they tell it to you? Kind of, you're going to need to explain what was going on for you that this advice was so important. All right. So once you narrow that down, you'll really need to focus on essay structure. That is the next section in the prompt, and it talks about how important it is to have a clear introduction, a clear thesis statement, and clear body paragraphs, each with a topic sentence and a specific example, and then to have a clear conclusion. So I'm just going to give a little quick, again, review on that, just so we're super clear on that, and then we'll work with some different topic ideas and go from there. All right. So just to point out too, in the prompt, it also says, of course, it's important to use correct sentence structure and grammar. If you look in the book in Steps to Writing Well, Chapter 6 goes into sentence structure, so that's very helpful. And then everything should be MLA style. The way that your paper is organized, meaning double spaced between lines, you indent each paragraph 5 spaces. And I wanted to point out again in the book that there are some examples of how to organize your, sorry, I'm like, where'd she go? Getting this book, the textbook. So there are some sample papers in the book that show you how to organize with MLA style. So I just wanted to point a couple of those out just to give you an idea. So I'm going to just show you one that's on page, let's see, it is, make sure you're getting APA, make sure you are not getting APA. This is MLA. We need MLA. So they have both in the paper. You need MLA. So here's MLA. And just if you can see this, again, I showed this last time, but this is how to organize your name and class information over on the left side, your last name on the right side, right? And notice the indentation of each paragraph, 5 spaces, and the double spacing between lines. All right, so again, that's on page 457 in the book. So there are some other sample papers too, but this is a great one that you can look at that just gives you that model for how to set up the paper. I think that's kind of nice to have. Okay, so in the intro, do know that, so in the intro, you need to talk about who gave you the advice, and of course, what the advice was. Very important to say that. What the advice was. Why? Why did they give you the advice? Explain the situation. And then you need a thesis statement. Your thesis statement should talk about what the advice was, your topic, plus your idea about the advice, what your ideas of why this advice was very important to you. So your thesis, again, is going to be your topic plus your idea. Topic plus your idea about the topic, okay? Oh, my paper is running out. It's very hard to write on this right now. The whiteboard wasn't working. It was one of those situations. Your idea about your topic. Okay, so you've got to get, this is what I like to call English lasagna. So is if you were making lasagna and you need to get all those layers in of your different ingredients. You might have some noodles, you might have some cheese, etc., right? You layer everything. Writing essays, same thing. You have to layer all the parts in order for the reader to get the full body of your essay, the full meaning of your essay, right? So it's very important in that first paragraph to explain who gave you that advice, because remember, the reader wasn't with you when it happened. Sometimes it's hard because when we're talking about our own experience, we were there, and there are things that we know about it that we might forget to explain because we were there, but the reader wasn't there. So we're thinking about audience. Remember, we did the exercise on audience. You're going to really use that now because you're going to think about the audience for your writing, right? So who gave you the advice? What exactly the advice was? Exactly the words, right? What was the situation? Why? Why did they give you this advice? Explain. And then your thesis. The advice again, what the advice was, and then what your idea about the advice was. Why was it important? What was the advice and why was it important? All right? So what was the advice? Why was it important? How many sentences are you looking for? Probably about 4 to 7. That's going to be standard for each paragraph-ish, right? It's not math, so it's not going to be exactly 4, exactly 5, but 4 to 7 is pretty standard. About a quarter of a page, double space, could be even half a page. If you're getting a whole page, that's going to be for a much longer essay, not a 3 to 5 page essay. This essay is 3 to 5 pages. So not longer than 5, but it has to be at least 3, not 2.5. Not like I made it onto the 3rd page. Yes. No, you've got to get, to pretty much the bottom of that 3rd page, right? So you need that amount of space. All right, so you need to explain all this in the intro. We will get into more specifics of that coming up, but I want to just really quickly talk about each body paragraph. So that's paragraph 2 is a body paragraph, right? So you need to have your topic sentence. You need an example. And you need your analysis. Let's just go over the overview of what I mean by each. Topic sentence is always 1 sentence. The example is going to be 2 to 3 sentences, and your analysis is going to be about 2 to 3 sentences. Again, this is ish, right? Because it could be 4. That's fine. I mean, it just depends on how you craft your sentences. But topic sentence is likely to be a reason. A reason that supports your thesis. The reason this advice, reason number 1, that this advice was so important to you. So reason number 1, right? It has to be, I'm going to write this too, an idea, not a fact. Okay, we'll get into the specifics and I'll give you an example in a little bit, but topic sentence, it also is the main idea sentence for that paragraph. The main idea. It has to be an idea, it has to support the thesis, has to come under the umbrella of the thesis. It's one sentence, says what the paragraph is about, right? It's your first reason. Then you need to give a specific example. Like, so if you said that this advice was really important to you because it helped to build your confidence, in this paragraph you talked about confidence, give an example of how because of this advice you're more confident now. Give a little story that illustrates that. Doesn't mean you're going to go on for pages about it, but just do give that example, all right? And then your analysis is like your focused thoughts on that idea, right? Just a few sentences. It's kind of the fun part. You get to give your philosophy in a sense. Your philosophy as it pertains to this idea about like why you're confident now, why this advice helped you to be more confident, right? So, but actually before the example, I missed one thing, so we're going to put it back in. After your topic sentence, you need to explain your topic sentence in 1 to 2 sentences. So give the topic sentence, explain the topic sentence, and then go into your example and then your analysis. Now, could these layers be shifted? Yes, they could. But if you are someone that has had a hard time with topic sentences and or with the structure of essay writing, which is a very, very common concern, what I would do is just do it in this order until you get super comfortable with it. And then you can, once you know the rules, you can, kind of be a little more flexible, making sure you still have them on in there, but you can work with it more in a more fluid way. But other than that, if you never mixed it up, you would really still have that order, and it could be always effective, right? So you've got your topic sentence. You've got your sentence that explains the topic sentence, because remember, your reader wasn't there. They need a little explanation. You need your example, that's about 2 to 3 sentences, and you need your analysis, your focused thoughts on this matter, about 2 to 3 sentences. So then this was, I said paragraph 2. We have paragraph 3 is kind of rinse and repeat, right? Because we've got I'm going to put next reason, right? Next reason is also your next topic sentence, right? So again, we have the topic sentence for this paragraph. We also are going to explain it, have an example and analysis. You have to do that for all 3 body paragraphs. You can't have just 2 body paragraphs, or that's not a full essay. You've got, and I mean, it's major to be missing an entire paragraph, right? So you've got to have your 3 body paragraphs, right? So, and then paragraph 4, again, you're just repeating this process, all right? So then, finally, you get to your conclusion. Your concluding paragraph. Your concluding paragraph is very important to have a complete paragraph about 4 to 7 sentences. You don't want to shortchange the reader so that they get to the end and then it just comes to an abrupt halt, right? No, you don't want to do that to them. Don't do that. But there are some clear things that you need to do. So you're still shooting for that 4 to 7 sentences. What should you do in that 4 to 7 sentences? You should touch back on your thesis. All right, so touch back on your thesis. Don't repeat it word for word. This is not a rerun, right? I mean, you don't want your reader going, oh, that's fair. Oh, didn't I read that somewhere? Where was that? No. It's got to be worded slightly differently, but you're saying the same idea as your thesis, okay? But word it slightly differently. But you do want, that's why I said touch back on it. You don't want to repeat it word for word, but do touch back on the thesis. Then you want to make sure that there is no new information. This is so important. I put an exclamation point there. No new information. This is not the time for breaking news. Oh, but now actually it turns out that I actually never take that advice anymore because it just doesn't fit me anymore. No, cancel. Don't do that. Okay, that it's just super confusing for your reader. Don't do that. It has to all come together. There is no new information that goes in this paragraph. If you have another example and it does support your thesis that you feel is important to include, put it in another body paragraph. You could actually have an additional body paragraph. That would be fine. But no new information in your conclusion. So this is not the time for another totally different example or anything like that. And I say this because we think we wouldn't do that, but we're human and our brains are very, very complex. We're thinking about a lot of different things at the same time, and we have the capacity to do that, which is exciting. Yay for us, right? But you want to watch that in essay writing because the reader isn't in your head. They'll get confused. They're not sure what happened here, right? So no new information, really, really important. All right, so then what you want to make sure that you are giving closure. You want to wrap it up. Wrap it up. This is not the time for a cliffhanger. You do have to tell them how it worked out in the essay. So there should be a sense of satisfaction at the end that you have come to a satisfying conclusion. The reader knows how it all worked out. And it's not, like a big cliffhanger. Stay tuned for, next week. No, don't do that to them. It's super confusing for them. All right, so the one thing that you can do, and this is optional, but it can be very effective, is that you could choose to sum up your topic sentences. It's really hard to write down here, so I have to be careful it doesn't flip over. So you can sum up your topic sentences. So you can just go through your topic sentences, your body paragraph points, and kind of summarize them. Just kind of repeat them, again, not word for word, but go over why they're important, right? And that can emphasize those points again for the reader, so that can be very effective. It's not the only way, but it is one way that's effective. You can also offer what is called a final thought. This is not a new thought. It's not a completely different idea, but it's a final thought that just is in keeping with your thesis, that really emphasizes why this issue is so important. Another thing that's similar to that is what I call getting to the heart of the matter. So what I do is I look at my thesis and my idea, and I say, what is underneath that? What's the heart of this for me? And that's sometimes what I put in my conclusion. Like, what is that heart, issue that's kind of so compelling about this to me? When we get to that point, I'll try to think of an example in this regard. I'm not sure if I can think about it right now, but you just kind of look at what's underneath the surface and what's the heart of the issue. Why is this so important and compelling? And that could be something to wrap up your conclusion with. But again, not new information. No breaking news. All right. So again, you're looking at about 4 to 7 sentences for the conclusion. All right. So that's the basic essay structure for really any essay. And this is focused on the narrative essay. All right. So now with that done, we are going to go over some sample ideas. So when I do this in class, I really like the workshop format of getting feedback from students, and I have you guys brainstorming, and I write down the ideas that you have, so everyone can really be included in giving their ideas and that sort of thing, and we've just got this different format that we're working with now. But I try to encompass some elements of that, because the fun of this for me is that process is rather organic, and I get a lot of fun of thinking on my feet with this, that I think shows what this process is really like. When you sit down to write that paper, it's not, like a chip that's in your head that's like, okay, let me write paper, right? It's like, it's organic, right? It's flowing out of you, and it's imperfect, but this is like the process. So I wanted to kind of show some of that process with this. So, we're going to see how this goes. All right, so I wanted to just start with the brainstorm about some ideas someone could do for best advice that might be given to them, and I'm hoping that this will help you to do your own brainstorm, make a list, or there's a lot of brainstorming techniques in chapter 1 of Steps to Writing Well, so if nothing's coming to you, try out some of those brainstorm methods. They're really, really good, and especially maybe try out some that you haven't tried before, because they can kind of free up your thinking. So for right now, I'm just gonna start listing some ideas. So what I did personally, because I don't have you guys here with me to give me your ideas, I just did Googled best advice, right? And that's an okay place to start, right? So if I mean you could try that. All right, so just writing down some of the ideas that came up when I did that. One says some advice is your life is your responsibility. So I'm going to write that down. Someone may have told us that, right? So your life is your responsibility. Okay, that's one piece of advice. Let's look what another is, and that says, the way someone treats you is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. That's kind of wordy, though. It's great advice, but I'm going to skip it because it's kind of long for this workshop. Life is all about managing expectations. When you know better, you do better. I have to say, that is a quote from Maya Angelou, so I'm going to give her credit for that one. All right, so when you know better, you do better. Okay, so that's an example of someone well known, in this case, a very well known writer, that you could take inspiration from someone like that you might read that, or have seen her interviewed or something in the past, right? Okay, fine. So let's look at just keep going. All right, so let's just keep going. All right, and then it says, so there's more. Let's see what else. Let's write down a couple more. Normally I'd have us vote, so we can't vote, but we're going to do something else that I think will work. All right, and then, okay, no, there's no more. It's a whole article. All right, so, oh, maybe there is. No, it isn't. All right, so I know one time when things were going particularly badly for me, a piece of advice my dad gave me that really stuck with me and helped me to turn things around was, you've got no place to go but up. That's how rough the situation seemed, but it really freed me up to, go forward. So I'll write it down. You got no place to go but up, right? And again, maybe it was something difficult that the person said, that really forced you to take a hard look at things. You should get it together, or something like that. I'm not going to write down the negative ones, but sometimes we can use things that are difficult that are said, and kind of I'm going to show them sort of thing. So it just kind of do the brainstorm and see what comes to mind. So now what we're going to do, these are just samples. This is just a list. Again, you can make your own list and that sort of thing. So I am going to roll the dice. I only have 4. Maybe I'll have one more. Okay, I'll get one. One of my favorite words of wisdom from Oprah Winfrey, I love Oprah Winfrey, is that not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Like, that you should be selective about who you surround yourself with. So I'm going to give her that one so we can have 5. But not everyone deserves a front row seat. I'll just leave it at that. Front row seat. And it goes in your life. All right, I'm going to roll the dice. We're going to see what we end up with, and we're going to work with it. All right, so here we go. It's a die, actually. It's only one. I couldn't find the other one. That's all right. 5. Ooh, we got number 5. So number 5 is this one. So not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. That's what I'm going to work with for right now. All right? So again, first of all, we have to invent a little bit more. So I'm going to make up something fictional, but in your real paper, you're going to work with your real situation, all right? So I'm going to work with something fictional just to kind of give us something to work with. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. So normally I would ask you to help me craft this example. Like if we were in class and we grabbed a random student out of the hallway and we asked them, what was going on about this for them. They told us this was a piece of wisdom. Who said that, right? Who said it? So you want to ask, you want to get really clear. Who said this, right? What was the situation? I'm just going to write, what was the situation? Why did they say it? And then this is really key because this is going to allow you to write your thesis. What did you learn? What did you learn? Okay, so those are all really, really important to ask yourself. So I'm going to make this up. Again, we're a random student, fictional student here. Let's see, who said that to us? Let's write down some scenarios. I'm going to roll the dice again. So let's see. Oh, actually, we know this. This is a quote by Oprah. I want to give her credit. So this was Oprah. So the person, somehow we read this or we saw an interview with her or, something. That's who said it. But what was the situation? I guess it would be something like that someone, okay, so we've got someone maybe betrayed us. Someone was very critical of us. I'm going to put friend. I'm going to put romantic partner. I'm going to put relative. That's about what I can think of right now. Or even like, let's put someone like less close, like a coworker, somebody like that. All right, so let's put down that. We're going to invent the situation. Why did they say it? We're gonna make that up a little bit. And what did you learn from that? Here are some ideas of what we could learn. That we might learn to value our own opinions the most. Instead of valuing what other people think more, we might learn to narrow down our friends to more close friends. We might be more careful about who we share things with, right? Careful as far as sharing, that sort of thing. All right, so we're going to roll the dice first to find out who said this. So here we go. We've got number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 is the coworker. 2, let's number this. 1 is the coworker. 2 is the friend. 3 is the romantic partner. I do need one more. 4 is a relative. 5 is someone online. Let's do that. All right. Okay, fine. I'm gonna roll the dice. Here we go. Oh, I forgot. There's 6 things on. I don't have 6 ideas, so we're gonna roll again. Okay, 4. We got 4 this time. 4 is a romantic partner. All right, so they're the ones that said something that was upsetting to us. Oh my, this is getting complex, right? All right. And so now we're going to find out what we learned. So I'm writing down some ideas about that. Valued our own opinions, narrowed down our friends. That it's not really working so much anymore. That doesn't careful what we're sharing, or maybe something about believing in ourselves instead of just believing in the other person more, believing in ourselves, believing our own opinions, careful what we're sharing, fine, or believing ourselves. I've really only got, this is 2 now and this is 3. If you can think of another one, fine, but I hope you can read that or make sense of it. But we've got 3. I'm going to roll the dice. If it's not 1, 2, or 3, I'm going to change it. Okay, that fell down. It is 6. That's not going to work. 5, no. 1, 2, or 3. 4, 5. Oh my goodness, 1. Okay, so we've got 1. We learned to value our own opinions. Okay, so we're going to piece this together. So you don't have to roll any dice because you'll know probably, unless you have a choice that you're finding hard to make. I guess you could try this method. Okay, so we've got Oprah Winfrey. We've got a romantic partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, right? Somebody like that. That we learn to value our own opinions through this whole experience. Okay. So I suggest doing some kind of a brainstorm. I wouldn't just dive in and start writing. I would do the brainstorm first, and then I'm going to help you develop again what I like to call a plan of attack. My method is to actually write an introduction first, kind of flow into that introduction, and then write my thesis, and then have my 3 reasons and develop my plan of attack.